Are you brave enough to get real on social media and get real with your audience? Well, today's Blunt Force Business video is about social media authenticity. If you like what you see, leave us a like, subscribe to our channel, and drop us a comment.
Hey, welcome back to Blunt Force Business. I am Brian LaFauci.
And I'm Patrick Marino.
And today we are arm wrestling. No, that's not what we're doing. All right. Today we're going to...
Do we have a good one?
We got a good one today.
All right, that's good.
Today's suck. We're going to talk about social media authenticity. So we're really going to dig into social media today and I know a lot of you are putting stuff together and looking at what you're going to put out there to the world, and we want to make sure that what you put out to the world has some authenticity to it. And you'll see in our Blunt Force facts that we're going to give you today, because if you do not have authenticity, it's going to be ugly for you.
Yeah, maybe.
I think so.
This is an authentic conversation too, because it organically grew out of stuff that we were talking about moments before we decided to shoot this video.
And then we hit play. So I know.
And we're recording this at the beginning of our own kind of branded journey here.
True.
So we're planning out, we're thinking through our own strategy. And
yeah, I think
that's how this conversation came up.
I think a lot of these conversations are really cool, how they come out of our journey down, getting to a certain point and thinking, the good idea fairy pops out. And then we say, all right, well, let's take a TV timeout. And we do a lot of this with business startup advice when we're advising people on business startup, because you're going to get, when you do startup especially, the good idea fairy is always there, right? And it's always popping up, and it's reeling people back to their, their core mission and what's important to them. And we've spent a lot of time on how we want people to learn about us in the realm of social media. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners are also contemplating, how do I get that?
And we've had a couple of stops and starts too, where we started off kind of down one path, and then we've made some conscious decisions, like maybe that's not the path to go down right now, and eventually it might be part of what we're doing, but like right now I really want to focus on this, and it's only come through these conversations, right? And how do you get to the point where we are, I think, branding ourselves pretty consistently right now, and that only comes from the planning and having these conversations.
And to that point, before we get into our first Blunt Force fact of the day, a key benefit of that is the fact that between Shannon and you and myself.
Who's Shannon?
Shannon is our, behind
content
the scenes,
manager,
behind the scenes content manager queen. And other things. Right. I offered Shannon a mic today. I'm like, let me throw you a mic and, just log you, click yourself in on the control panel there when you want to tell us we're saying something dumb. And she's like, not today, Brian. Nah, but maybe next time. You will be blessed to hear Shannon's angelic voice sometime, but not today, apparently. But before we jump into like our first Blunt Force fact, what's really great about our team. And, I attribute a lot of this to you and to Shannon, because sometimes I can go down the road of, hey, what about this concept? We had this moment last night in our text chain that we were kind of firing stuff off, and you sent me 7 no's in a row. No, which, was a reset that I'd go too far down the rabbit hole. But I think that's important for our listeners out there. A lot of you might be own a business that's run by one person doing 90% of the things. You need sounding boards. You really do. And there's a lot of ways you can get them. Working with consultants is a great way to get them, or whatever you do. You got to have people that you're bouncing ideas off, because we all look at things from the lane in which through our experiences, and it's very narrow. We think we have this broad view and broad knowledge base. We don't. It's very narrow. And when we funnel that through other people, we see that, not everybody thinks like us.
Right, exactly.
And people can see the misdirection that we might be taking our brand down very simply, where we were missing it because we were excited by the concept.
Right.
Or
sometimes what's happened is I've showed, at this point, as we're recording, we have put some stuff out there, and I've previewed it to other people. And I don't always trust them getting the right, because they're just like, oh, that's great, like so great.
The
And
friends
it's just
and
like
family
if you show it to the wrong
course.
person,
Right,
you get
right.
the just, oh, it's so great, because they like you and they want it.
Exactly.
They want you to feel good about what you're doing. And I think that you have to show it to some people who are going to give you that other perspective. Right.
You need that. I need the no. You don't
need always somebody to rain on your parade, but you do need, I think, somebody to be critical.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
So this is what I like about it. This is where I think that you might need just something else.
Yeah. Yep.
And then also, how does this fit into the bigger picture, which we're going to kind of talk about?
I like to cook. I cook dinner a lot, and my wife will come home and I'll say, try this. And she'll take the bite. And before she even takes the first chew, she'll be like, that's good. I'll be like, I fucking hate that. Like, just let it simmer, right? You know, you're just telling me what I want to sit, here with let it simmer a little bit. You're giving me the nice wife response. I want real, like, what do you like about it? Is it good? Is it not good? Right? Sometimes friends and family aren't the best for that. So you need your Patrick. I need my Patrick to say, that's dumb, or not that's dumb, but that, you're missing the point here. And brutal honesty is the best advice that you can have in your life when you're trying to figure this stuff out. And with our blunt force fact number 1 here, where we start and where we advise all of you to start in creating, when you're thinking about what you're going to put on social media and then reflecting on it week to week to make sure you're hitting your core point. Blunt force fact number 1, Patrick, is what? What do we have for them today as our first blunt force fact?
You have to remember your why.
It's always the perfect reset for us.
Right, exactly. Yep. And I think that it's your why in a number of different areas, your life, your business. But now that we're focused on social media, you have to, as you start to think about what type of content you're going to put out into the world, you have to think about, well, why am I in business in the first place? What is the purpose of my business? What is the purpose of what I'm doing on social media? Drill back into your why, because that's going to keep you focused on the right message and the right type of strategy.
Yeah. And I had this play out with my one strategy company, and I, the process went kind of full circle, and how it started and how it might start for many of you in kind of losing sight of your why is, as I was creating my one strategy social media presence, I posted a video one day of me and my dog on our bed. And I have a blanket that was given to me as a Christmas gift with me and pictures of my dog, because my dog is with me all the time. And the video was very simple. It was just, hey, if you, it was something like, if you have a dog and you don't have a blanket on your bed with a picture of you and dog, you're wrong. Real straightforward. Real, like, just, it was, right after Christmas, it was very much hey, letting my personality kind of show through. And that video tenfolded everything else I'd put out there. And it drew me down the rabbit hole of, oh, wow, look, the dog gets a lot of response, right? So then I lost a little bit of the why for a while.
Yeah.
And for a couple weeks, I was putting stuff out there with just the dog. And I was integrating some business in it, but I lost sight of the why, because I saw this, and social media will do that to you. It's going to take you down these channels. And eventually I had a reset and realized, okay, who am I talking to now with these videos? I'm talking to dog people.
Right.
Those are not people that potentially or probably are going to say, hey, we want your support in helping our company, which is what we're here to do.
Exactly.
So then I realized I still like having the dog in there. We did a reset. I said, what's the mission? So then we went to a business startup basics from Bobo. Right. So every Thursday we post a business stuff, but now the focus is what it should be. The focus is on giving people good startup business advice, and a cute photo of the dogs in there because I know people like that. But we had to have that back to blunt force fact number 1.
Yeah.
We had to have that reset.
There's a balance that has to happen, because when we get to blunt force fact number 2, this might make more sense, but maybe I can drill back. Right. So back in the day when we first started doing social media consulting, that was the whole thing. Well, you could post pictures of puppies all day and you're going to get a ton of likes and your audience will build. But is it going to be the audience that you need in order for your social media account to matter? right? And we'll get down these roads too, but like it's so critical that you stay focused on what am I trying to do? Why am I here? And that's going to drive as well. So it's like there is an argument to be made that if you have the balance where it's like you sprinkle in a little bit of your authentic self, which we're going to talk about as well, right? So you sprinkle in a little bit about here is where I am off the field, right? This is the way I am off the field. You sprinkle enough of that in, then you're building more trust in the relationship. But if it's too much off the field, then it has nothing to do with your business and what you're trying to do, right? So what's the why? What are you here for? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and that's
right.
And that's why you have to be purpose driven. What's the purpose? What's the why? What are you doing? And then that's the only way you're going to achieve goals. And then one of our other facts that we talk about frequently is being results driven and not to get distracted, right? So the easy way to get distracted is to say, oh, I posted this thing with my dog and I got a whole bunch of likes and a whole bunch of views, right? And then that becomes addicting.
Very addicting.
Right? Because you're focused, you're focused on the wrong stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and really, what's the only thing that matters? The only thing that matters is how many people are reaching out to you and saying, hey, let's do business. How many people are signing up? How many people are purchasing? Those are the only things. So if you have to drill down into how do you motivate that? And probably posting too much of your dog is not going to get that.
Exactly.
You have to sprinkle it in. It's like, this is who I am. I'm a dog owner. Yeah. You might be a dog owner too. That might help us connect. But that's it. I mean, that's a surface level, like, and then everything else needs to get back down to what's the actual, what are we doing?
Yep. And it was a reset to the why. Yeah. It took me a while. Sometimes it's not going to happen immediately. You're going to realize that you've been pulled off of that. And the social media algorithm and the social media giants are brilliant at pulling you off of your trajectory.
Right.
There's billions of dollars spent at taking you down the trajectory that they want you to go on. So,
but they're also brilliant at keeping you on it, right? So if all you looked at all day on your social media was pictures of puppies, then every time you press the search button, it would all be pictures of puppies.
Right. And who do I want to search for me, right?
Exactly.
Going back to my why is I want people to search for me that value what we're providing them from a business growth standpoint. And so content has to be front and center. So those are the people that are clicking.
Exactly.
And then the algorithm will work in my favor.
And it's the type of people that you're engaging with too. Like if you're just always engaging with, other dog owners, now we're just going down the dog rabbit hole ourselves. But let's say you were just like really into tools. Right. Let's say you were just always looking into the next tool, like, that's, that drill looks fantastic. It's got more torque or, whatever it is, I just need this next thing. And you're looking at tool reviews and all that. And that's the people you're engaging with online. Then if that's your business account, then you might not get the return back from that.
Yep. And I did notice that, that algorithm happened with me on one of my business accounts. I had accidentally started just searching up some health and fitness stuff, and I was on my business account. And then that feed over the next couple of weeks, it was just constant guys with their shirt off doing pull-ups, right? Or girls with a mess. It was just this constant athletic influencer feed that just started going my way. So it does it will quickly take you. So blunt force fact number one, stay true to your why, stay focused on your message, be conscious of it, pre-plan your stuff so that way you get the right algorithm working.
And as we always talk about, do it every month, do it every week, once a week, beginning of the week, once a month, once a quarter, review your why and start thinking about why am I here? And then now work backwards and say, did the things that I was doing stay on path to the why? And then are the things I'm going to plan out stay on path in the why? Right. So you're reflecting and planning.
And that's the base. Keep in mind, right now, it's almost like we're providing, this is where to start from. Because then, as we continue to talk this today and in future episodes, now we're going to build on that pyramid of, all right, I'm sticking with my why, but I'm not getting the traction I want. Okay, so now we got to look at a little bit further down that rabbit hole. I'm a big systems guy. If you've watched our videos, you know that. I like it. So we have, we have a whole spreadsheet for our social media planning that lists everything down from like the hashtags we want to make sure on different what days we're going to post, what hashtags that are there, how we want the layout of the post, all that good stuff. But right at the top of that page is the message we want to make sure and our why. So it's there at the top of every one of those days. So it's a constant system reminder. When I look at that, it's always right in front and center. So it's clear. Well, I know when I post something that doesn't line up with it because I have that reminder. So set a system, set up something that, even if it's like a Word document that you put all the important stuff, you print it out and it's right above your computer. It's right there whenever you're doing your post or whatever. Just a constant reminder of, am I hitting the things that are important to me?
Got it.
Awesome. What's blunt force fact number 2? You're on a roll, so I'll give
blunt
you the
force
next
fact number 2 is you're not fooling anyone.
You're not fooling anyone. So I was can I tell a story real quick?
Yeah.
I feel like I've talked a lot today, but I was telling a story about went on vacation with my family recently, and there was 11 of us, and we have a big family vacation we do every year, and so we were all away, and I started to notice that there was a trend in my my stepdaughter's Instagram posts, and this has happened on previous vacations too. And there was this trend that was going on, and as she was posting stuff from the trip, and which is fine, but it was just her. Like all the pictures were just her, and there was 11 of us on this vacation. So on our little family group message, I said, did you go on this trip another time by yourself? Because I don't see any of us in your picture, right? And it became a joke, a running joke. And she's like, I didn't look at any of the family pictures, but it's what are we putting out there? And if it's not true to what the reality we're living is, people are going to call you out,
right?
And we as a family called her out, but I do think there were other, there was some comments on there that was like, oh, did you recently go on a trip? Because it looked like she'd gone there alone.
Right.
So people start like pinging you on it. And now you're like, well, no. The minute you have to start backtracking on the stuff that you're putting out there is the minute you start to lose trust.
Right.
When you may have to explain like, hey, no, I wasn't really there, but right.
So, I think there's also like, I know that I've been sent, or if you're just hanging out with a friend or whatever, and it's like, hey, get a load of this guy. And it's usually because they're trying to be somebody that they're not.
Yes.
And I think that it's easy. It's probably easier even on social media than it is in person to be able to tell that somebody's being inauthentic. There's something about it. It's like a window into your soul, like that kind of thing. I was just thinking as we were having the conversation, like I feel like social media is a teenager. Like I feel like Instagram, like just everything about social media is living your teenage life again. It's like there's cliques, right? There's bullies. There's it's like it's just like being a teenager again. And it's what do you do when you're a teenager? You try and impress a certain group, right? And only in retrospect, when you become a person of a certain age, like we are,
an elder statesman,
that look back and you say like I wasn't being myself. You know what I mean? Like and you feel bad about it, and you regret's the wrong word about it, but you do see that there could have been a different path in a relationship, or how you spoke about whatever it was, that if you just stayed authentic then maybe things would have gone differently. And that's not a regret, but it's like just like reflection. It's just thinking like things would have gone differently if I had just stopped trying to be somebody I wasn't. Things would have gone differently.
And you know what happens, because when you put out your business profile to the world in a social media type way, right? Now you're trying to create your brand image on social media. And if you're not true to that image, if it isn't really you, inevitably the people that know your industry, which are going to be a lot of people that are following you, are going to pick up on that very quickly, right? So if prime example, if we promoted health and wellness because we wanted to be in that, look like, hey, this is the subculture we're in, right? So we do a lot of that. We promote fatherhood, right? If we weren't, focusing on eating healthy, if we weren't focusing on, some supplementation, if we weren't focusing on, exercise. And if we weren't actually doing that, those people that are and know are going to pick right up on the fact that these guys are completely talking shit. Like they don't even know what they're like. It'll be bad advice, right? It would be untimely. It would have all those identifiers that the people in the industry would know. So the easiest thing to do and the most important thing to do is just be authentic to your true self. And some of that is allowing your flaws to be front and center. Right. You don't have to be a fitness model to care a lot about fitness, but you can, if you portray your struggles as well as your successes, it makes you relatable and it's authentic and it's we don't hit a home run every time. Some people, when you follow their social media accounts, you can see that they're trying to give the impression like they're hitting home runs every day. Every day's a home run. And you can see it. Purely identifiable, like they're very selective with what they're putting out there, and it goes. Some of the better campaigns that have been out there have actually been by, I think L'Oreal might have done one, and Dove did one. Dove did one of the most successful.
I'm always following those campaigns.
The L'Oreal and Dove ones.
Those are not in my algorithms. And we're in a no judgment
zone. But I do not follow them either, in all honesty. But I did do a lot of research on what are some of the most successful campaigns ever on social media. So I want to, in being knowledgeable and talking to our clients about what kind of has worked and right. But what Dove did was really interesting. Dove, pure, clean. They want, right? So they did all of these images about no makeup, nothing, just people just clean and as they are. And they had some really, the traction on it was incredible. Right. Just being authentic, right? Trying to not make everything that's coming up front look like it's this polished, perfect. I mean, I think we do a nice job of that. We post tons of our outtakes. Right. On the stuff we do and when we fuck up. Yeah. Because that's part of the process, right? Through the process. And we talk about our failures. Right. I talk about the failure on social media. I went down this rabbit hole because that one post. And I think for our listeners, blunt force fact, right? You're not going to fool anyone. So be authentic to where you are and who you are. And if you're working to get somewhere and be something, then great. Let people go on that journey if you're working to get there.
I think there's another piece of that too is, especially because most of the people who we target are, small business owners, or they're selling something, they're selling a service, they're selling a product, whatever it is. If your social media presence is far off from your actual product, then there's a disconnect there and people can see that, right? You're not fooling anybody. It's like, here's the way I'm presenting myself here. And then they meet you in person or they actually see what it is. Then that disconnect can be really, really off-putting. And it's really, really noticeable if you've been on somebody's social media account and then you meet them in person. You're just like, this is like an interesting, different experience. It's not what I was expecting.
Right.
What you want to do is, there can obviously be situations where that's a good thing. But for the most part, if you want everything to line up, everything should be based on business goals, not based on getting people to like your puppy videos, right? It should all be based on business goals. So if I want to reach these business goals, then I want the people who have this experience with me to all line up, right? Because then if I'm doing my job on social media, then when they get here, they're going to make a purchase or a decision.
Right.
And if there's a disconnect, then that just makes that's friction for the person who's making the decision. Do I do business with this person? Do I buy this product? Do I go to this restaurant? Whatever the business happens to be. That friction is a barrier in the process of purchase. And so why have that friction? Keep things consistent so that there's no friction there. There's no rub. It's just, this is who I am. This is what we do. And then when the person comes, like, oh, this is what I was looking for. Yeah. Because that's the social media experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I like it. You're not fooling anyone. Mm-hmm. All right. One more for him. This one is one we've used in other videos.
Right.
Is that acceptable?
It doesn't matter.
It is.
Doesn't matter what they think.
It is acceptable.
We're making it acceptable.
Because it applies in a lot of areas. I really like this one. I think in this topic we're talking about right here, this blunt force fact is very applicable. And the last blunt force fact for today is, as you're creating your social media authenticity, is don't talk to strangers. And that kind of ties in to the last point you just made, that what does it mean to not talk to strangers? Well, from the standpoint we're talking about, what that means is you need to be very clear with your message so that you're hitting the people that are going to do what you just said.
Right.
Click buy, right? Or purchase, or the link to the next thing you want them to see, right? Yeah. You need to be very clear very clear in your message, so that way the funnel is funneling the right people, right? And their interest is there.
Yeah. So you want to have, when you're speaking to your social media audience on whatever social media platform you're on, you don't want to be speaking to the wrong people. If you're selling consulting services, you don't want to be speaking to dog lovers necessarily, right? I mean, like, that's the don't talk to strangers thing. Like, who am I, like, and a business owner who owns a dog and appreciates that might be the right person. But if you're just talking just to dog lovers, then that's not the audience that you need, right? And there's a couple reasons why this is bad. One is because you don't have the time, right? Most business owners don't have time. And this is a big part of it, is economy, right? Economics, from a basic level of, here's how much time I have to waste. And most of us don't have any. Right. So the more time I spend doing things that are not going to be making me money, the worse off I am. And that's when don't talk to strangers comes in, because now I'm talking to people who are irrelevant, and that's not helping my bottom line. Right. And that's one. But the other way it's a problem is if I'm wondering, why am I not doing well? Why is my bank account not improving? Why is there not more sales? Why am I not getting leads? Well, if your message is going to the wrong people, then it's irrelevant. It's not. And I have a ton of examples of this. I'll mention, this is not a customer or a client of mine, but a barbecue restaurant, really, really solid brand, cool brand. Used to get a ton of engagement on social media. Like, they'd post something, like, people freaking flock to it. But they closed. And when they closed, I was really surprised.
Yeah.
But I'd been in there, and there weren't a lot of people in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, and I know a little bit about that audience. It came about organically, but they weren't barbecue customers. They were like supporters.
Yeah.
It's almost like family members, right? It's like family members saying, that's great, good job. Like, it's not people who...
But you're not getting them in the door.
Yeah, they're not your customers.
Right.
Right? So the place closed. I mean, they're still in business. They're doing a different type of business. But the lesson being, like, if you're talking to the wrong people, then you're not going to be accomplishing the ultimate goal, which is making money and getting customers and having people buy your product and service. So don't talk to strangers comes in, where it's like, you want to make sure that you're building your audience strategically.
And, there's an interesting way, if you want to dig into this, then your analytics can help.
Yeah.
Right? Because your analytics on your social media will tell you some of the demographics of your people. But if you really want to spend a little time, go into your followers and click on their links. See what people are pretty identifiable with what they are and what they do. Mm-hmm. And you can just do a sample, right? So if you have 1,000 followers, you don't have to do 1,000 of them. But if you spend an hour and click on 100 of them, and, do a random sample of it and see, what do they look like, right? Does it seem like I'm gravitating, or people who I want to gravitate to me are actually gravitating to me? And if you see trends there, then maybe that trend is based on one of these things that you have to tweak. Maybe you're revisiting your why, being a little more authentic with who you are and the people you want to gravitate to you, and then you're talking to the wrong people somehow. Right. So for some reason, this other group of people is gravitating to what it is you're putting out there. And it's not a black and white science. We know that. right? This is a...
Well, we might find out it's more of a science than we know.
True. Good point.
Once the robots take over and
Right.
start telling us this is exactly what you're thinking.
Yeah, right. But I will say...
Here's your brain.
Yes.
Right, here's the code of your brain.
Yeah.
You're
right.
where all this stuff linked
very
up.
close to the Matrix.
But for now, we're not in that.
Yeah. There's some gray in there, and there's some subjectivity in there. And this is a constant growth. You may never get it 100% right, but if you can ask yourself some key questions when you're lining up your posts, and those key questions being, look at the post, say, if I didn't know who I am or what I am, and someone was to watch this, would they know what was important to me, what my why is? Would they know what my deliverable is? Is the way I'm portraying us and the company in this business true to the way we really are? And if you're not there yet, then you want to be there, then you got to get there, right? So be in line with the message you're sending out there. And then lastly, like I said, looking through those reports and looking at some of your followers and saying, am I talking to strangers here?
Well, one of the ways as well, so look at the flip side, people that aren't following you, go out and seek the people that you want to follow you. So if you are a barbecue restaurant, use your hashtag strategy and go out and search for other maybe similar restaurants in your area, and then find the customers that are following those pages and figure out what they're interested in. Do some research on them. That's one of the good things about social media is you can find these people who you've identified, and then you can also do things like comment, right? You could comment on those posts too. Do the look up a hashtag of something that your people would be interested in. Find those people, comment on similar things.
Yep.
And then they will now look into you. They're going to be like, oh, what this person said is interesting. Yeah. They're going to do a little background on you, and they'll be like, oh, these guys do this amazing stuff. Let me start following that person. Yeah. Now you've got a follower who is in line with your business, with exactly what you want to do. And that's a process. I mean, these are all processes that take time.
No, I mean, there's a million processes. That's a really good one.
Right.
Going out and finding individuals who line up with your customer base and engaging them on their platform. And we do that. We look to do that a lot. And then some other key tips you can use that might be helpful. If there are influencers, our friends who are influencing in your industry that you would like to tie into, send them something, right? If you have a product, send them your product. Good chance they might post on it, right? If they don't, what's the worst? You lost, right? You lost one unit of a thing that you sent to them. So utilize influencers to maybe help grow that. Send them to the right people. You should be able to attract some, a targeted audience right back to you. So
not strangers.
Right, not strangers. So. Good stuff.
Ready to wrap it up?
Social media is a big world. I hope the 3 blunt force facts today are helpful to you in guiding your plan on your social media journey. I am Brian LaFauci.
I'm Patrick Marino.
And we will see you next time.
Thank you. Thanks for watching our content. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope that you'll become more authentic with your social media marketing moving forward. If you like what you see, please make sure that you subscribe to our channel and tune in next week for more blunt force facts.